is JonBenet Ramsey, and I'm 5.5.
5.5. Okay, pick one. Two left. Okay. What is your favorite animal at the zoo?
The monkeys, because they laugh and stuff and hang around.
Welcome back to another episode of the Algorithm Podcast.
Been a while.
We say that every time.
Been a while.
We say that every single time. Today's episode, we are talking about probably a top 5 all-time true crime case ever. Everybody knows this one, JonBenet Ramsey.
I did not know this one.
You did not know this one.
I knew nothing
You're
about
You're a
it.
young one.
Yeah.
This one happened before you were born.
Yeah.
You didn't know much about it, though, either. You knew of it, but you didn't know much about it.
Yeah, I didn't know nothing about the case, really. I knew what it was, though.
Yeah. We're the same age.
Yeah.
I can remember a time like going grocery shopping and stuff in stores, and tabloids were always a big thing, and being like 6, 7 years old and just the entire rack of tabloids. So you don't know this, but the entire shelf of tabloids was JonBenet's photo. It was like viral for the 90s. Like
I'm sure it was.
everybody was in
And it was like that for a couple of years, too. Like, just nonstop.
theories, just like conspiracies, all that. It was a rough one. All right, JonBenet Ramsey. So you went into this blind.
I did.
What was your thoughts when you first started like diving into it?
I mean, initially it just made me sick looking at her age.
Well, yeah.
And,
Anytime a kid dies, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like the pageants and stuff, even before learning about this case, always made me feel icky and gross.
Which, going back, if like with all that shit that's happening now with like child pedophilia rings,
absolutely not what I ever put
the
my
Epstein stuff, it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like that's predatory stuff.
Yeah. I think initially it just made me sick to my stomach, but the more that I learned about all of the different possibilities that it could be, I was like, what is this?
It's literally a sick ass game of real life Clue.
Yes.
Yeah, the whole
Like-
thing is.
Like the entire game is a
Yes.
sick version of Clue.
Absolutely
Like
it is.
who killed JonBenet in the house with what tool?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I mean that's
In
really
what
what it
room?
was. In what room? When did it happen?
Yep.
Okay. Let's get started. This is a case that is over 20 years old now, which I think it's fucking
It's
close to 30.
Yeah, it's coming up on 30.
Yeah, close to 30. 96, was it? 97?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
96.
the end of 96 because she died on Christmas
Dude, I was
Day.
thinking about that shit yesterday. It's off topic, but I was like, man, 2015 was just like yesterday. It was fucking 10 years ago, 9 years ago.
Yep,
We're fucking old, dude.
getting there.
Bad.
I'm not that old yet.
We're getting close. We're about to be closer to 40 than 30.
What?
Yeah.
Ew. I hate that for you.
like what the fuck?
Yeah,
dude?
your boy just took dad naps all day.
Yeah.
I'm definitely feeling old.
Yeah, there are new theories coming out even to this day in 2024. She was a 6-year-old girl who was brutally murdered in her home in 1996 in Boulder, Colorado, which is a very small town, like a very uppity small town, like a town of fantasy.
Yeah, at that point.
Yeah,
I think it's huge now, but
yeah, and it's like a fucking tourist attraction.
yeah.
Though.
Oh, I'm sure it is.
The Ramseys lived in a 15-room house. I will say that again, a 15-room house.
My gosh.
Probably took up half the square foot of Boulder.
Nuts.
5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, 4 stories, 7,200 square feet. The father, John, was a very known wealthy man. He was a CEO of a pretty large company and had a small business as well. What did he exactly do? Do we remember? Do we know?
He had a software
I
company.
knew he had a software company, but someone said he he had something to do with weapons in the military.
I'm not sure. You said that when I first
Yeah,
got here.
yeah.
I didn't hear
I
anything
don't know.
about that.
I didn't hear anything about that.
Like he sold a piece of it to like the military. It's something.
Which,
I'll have to-
if that's true, then it just gives you a whole nother twist.
yeah,
and
it
turn of-
fuels
Yeah.
to the
Ugh.
cover up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mother Patsy Ramsey was really well known in town for doing skits and plays. She loved to decorate. She was really uppity, like very blue collar but Kardashian-esque Was it high maintenance?
Yeah,
Like,
high maintenance.
For sure,
Yeah,
high
because they
maintenance.
said that she dressed up
Yeah.
every day, and that's kind of like
Yeah.
the opposite of what Boulder was at the time.
Yeah, I was listening to this show today, and they said Patsy today would love Instagram. Would love Instagram.
Yeah,
like,
probably.
4 posts a day,
Oh, yeah.
filters.
Selling tummy tea. All
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, she was that type. Okay. The older brother is Burke Ramsey. Described as a quiet and shy kid who stayed to himself. He didn't really like to be in the spotlight. Someone said he was really close to like the what do they call that? Like there's a word for it. He's like on the spectrum.
Oh yeah,
Autism?
okay.
Like he's really close to being autistic, but he's not. He wasn't really diagnosed. JonBenet, who was named after her father. She was always in beauty pageants. She was born to perform. She loved to be outgoing. 2, 1. Yeah, her mother had her in so many different pageants.
Oh, yeah.
So many photo shoots.
Yeah.
Oh, and I hate watching them. They just give me the ick so
I don't
bad.
like that stuff at all.
It's creepy now. Like, it's fucking creepy.
Well,
now.
and one of the documentaries that I watched was like pageants are literally just like you don't need to post your kid anywhere. Just let the pedophiles right into that pageant and they see everything they want to see.
Well, we watched, I mean, it's a fucking funny ass show, but we watched Honey Boo Boo like
Yeah.
years ago.
yes,
like when
I
she was a
did.
little kid, and I would look at Erica and be like, this is fucking weird.
It is
It's
weird.
Like,
And
this
the
is
moms
weird.
get super. It's almost like the dad that can't like. That's just
Exactly.
overbearing in sports and like
Exactly.
trying to live through their kid.
Like the dad who blew his knee out in high school
Yeah.
and shit, and he's
Throw
like,
pigskin
all right,
quarter
yeah.
mile.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It is.
Okay, now we're about to get into a timeline of events that led to the murder of JonBenet. I'm going to say murder because it's not a mystery, obviously, anymore. Christmas Day, 1996. Christmas fucking day.
Yeah, that made me feel really sad too.
Started out as a normal Christmas day. They opened gifts and went to their friends for a Christmas dinner. JonBenet fell asleep in the car on the way back home, which this is... So, John Ramsey has told 2 different stories about this.
Yes.
He has told that she fell asleep in the car on the way back home, and he has also said that she was alive the whole way, even putting her to bed. So he's already got his stories fucking confused. All 3 went into the house together, and a parent took JonBenet to the bed in her room on the 2nd floor. They hung out for a little, and then Burke went to bed. His parents followed soon after. Okay, which Burke admits later that he actually woke up and went downstairs to play with toys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why he got the pineapple and the milk.
Okay, that's that timeline. Yeah, I didn't know that.
The next morning, Patsy woke up around 5:45 a.m. and went to make some coffee when she noticed a note at the bottom of the spiral staircase. At 5:52 a.m., the dispatch call was received. Patsy was hysterical and hyperventilating. It was a note from someone saying they had JonBenet. She was safe, but they wanted ransom money.
So this is the note.
And this is the note.
Okay,
the infamous note.
I have not read this all the way through.
Okay, so this is, So I'm going to read this shit, and you've heard it. You're going to be like, what in the fuck?
Okay.
So the note starts, Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. Now, we're reading it off we can just scroll.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 3-page note, wrote on 3 separate pages. Okay. Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. Here's where it gets crazy. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. First red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's one, it's a weird fucking number. We're going to talk about why it's a weird number in the first place. But kidnappings and stuff, it's almost like fucking Austin Powers. When Dr. Evil requests the ransom and
100.
he requests the ransom in like the 70s.
Yeah.
I want $1 million. Well, he gets frozen and he gets brought to the 90s and he does the same thing. Well, I want $1 million, and the government just looks at him and starts laughing their fucking ass off. Like, okay, fine. $118,000 is not a lot of money at all.
Yeah, and especially to put it in like perspective, his company had just celebrated profiting over
$1
$1
billion
billion that year. So
and it was in the news. Yeah. His company had just eclipsed $1 billion in profits.
So yeah, that is an odd amount then.
Yeah. Okay. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Why?
it's almost like
they're trying too hard.
Yeah,
it
points at the mom too. I think a lot because it's like you're the mom that just stays home. You just do whatever you want all day. You have no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
With the money, like probably don't even know how much the company made because you're too busy spending the money. You got a Christmas bonus for that amount, and you're like, all right, well that's all I know. Let's do it.
Yep. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché. Like it's. So that is a French word.
Right.
That is another thing that they're. So this letter isn't fucking French.
No.
But they're trying to make it seem like that.
Like it's
they're trying to make it seem like that.
Yeah.
Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. That's important.
Okay.
Okay, that's important because when Patsy calls. She calls at, what did we say,
5:45, I think.
5:45?
or something.
5:52.
Yeah.
You have 2 hours, okay, for that phone call.
Okay.
Right.
Why are you calling the police? And in this letter, in this ransom note, it also says don't call the police. So, question for you both. You find this letter, and it says, do not call the police or your daughter will have her head cut off. As violent as that sounds. Are you calling the police instantly?
No, probably not. If I got the money to pay, like right then and there, I'd probably just fucking pay.
I'd probably just be like,
try to get my kid.
Here's your money.
You would at least. That's why, like, when you put that in parentheses, 5:45, she woke up for the coffee. 5:52, the call was received.
Mm-hmm.
7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're telling me she read that note in 7 minutes. Okay. Three-page note. She went and read this note and instantly called the cops.
Right.
Didn't let anything process.
All that time, too, she had to find out that JonBenet wasn't there, too.
Yeah, and you gotta go up and look in the fucking room.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
You're going to panic for a minute, too. Okay, I'm going to go look throughout the rest of the house. You got 15 bedrooms. I'm going to go check her brother's room. I'm going to go check all these other rooms. How long does that take? And to read the note and
the timeline is fucky.
Okay.
It's super fucking. This is just the start.
Okay.
So the dispatcher was actually put on a gag order. The dispatcher could not make any statements or anything to anybody. Like I don't know why. Like I have no idea why. But the dispatcher said there was funny things about this call. Like a lot of funny things.
Okay.
Yeah. The delivery would be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested.
What does that mean?
Yeah. It's movie type shit. We're
Right.
going to bring her in a plane, like just something from a movie.
Put the money under a bench in this park at this time. Yeah.
And these movies, like these action movies, like kidnapping movies, were fucking huge in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huge. Okay. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier delivery pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The 2 gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them.
Okay.
This literally sounds
okay. So I'm gonna stay right there. Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. I'm going to go right back to there.
Okay.
So a small foreign faction doesn't like you. Why? You're in fucking Boulder, Colorado. Like
software sales.
Yeah, software sales.
Okay.
Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as police, FBI, or etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Signed, Victory, SBTC. Okay. So,
why would they say that?
why would a French foreign faction say, use that good Southern common sense of yours?
All right. No.
Because France knows about the good Southern hospitality in
Right.
the United States,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and to also say that the family is under constant scrutiny when, like, it seemed to be pretty, like, everybody had the same thoughts about that family and everybody seemed to like them.
Especially in Boulder.
Yeah, so to say they're under constant scrutiny,
That's like somebody. That's like something like a rich mindset. Like people are hating on us
Yeah.
because we're rich.
that's
Yeah. I mean, okay, so this, I mean, you could go down so many different theories about who killed JonBenet. But when you think about those theories, you always have to think about this ransom note.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you go about the theories like, okay, this person could have done it, think about the ransom note. Like if someone snuck in their house and killed them, right? They would have to take at least 21 minutes at their kitchen counter to write the fucking note. So they're just hanging out,
All right, just chilling.
writing the note, switching hands. And it was determined a female wrote it.
okay.
Just think about that.
Mm.
Okay. Here are a few key points of analysis from Mark McClish, who is an expert in statement analysis. Like this dude has like caught like he's solved cases of like handwritings,
Mhm.
like how people like work. Okay. And I quote, one of the first things we notice is that this is a very long ransom note. Most ransom notes are short and to the point. Quote, we have your kid and she's safe. It will cost you $500,000 to get her back. Do not call the police. We will be contacting you. He's right.
Mm-hmm.
This ransom note was written on 3 pieces of paper. This is our first clue that this note may be bogus. The amount of $118,000 is a relatively small amount of money. Kidnappers are greedy. A true kidnapper would demand much more money.
A true kidnapper would demand much more money. The phrase your account is very interesting. First, as I previously mentioned, a kidnapper would not tell you from where to obtain the money. If a kidnapper did write where to get the money from, he would probably say the bank and not your account. Secondly, if Patsy Ramsey was the author of this note, then we can see how in targeting the note towards her husband, she would use the phrase your account versus my account.
Yeah, that's fucking...
Okay.
Yeah, easy to pick apart.
I can see that.
In line number 10, the writer tells the Ramseys to bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. Most kidnappers are not going to remind you to bring an adequate size case to hold the money.
Hold on, I'm going to stop you.
You're good.
Another thing about Patsy is, so during the 911 call, I'll play that right now.
911 emergency. Please. What's going on? 515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am? We have a kidnapping. Hi, please. Explain to me what's going on, okay? There's a note left and our daughter's gone. A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old.
How long ago was it?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you...
Patsy Ramsey, I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been
No,
gone?
I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Okay,
Please, there's somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath,
Please,
okay?
hurry.
Patsy.
So during this call, she says, I found the ransom note. Instantly. I found the ransom note.
Yeah, she does say
Instead
that.
of saying,
A
I found them, I found a ransom note.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
It's crazy how you can just slip up, but just how you talk based off what you've already done.
Yep.
Mm.
Likewise, in line number 13, it is doubtful that a kidnapper would tell you to be rested because the delivery process will be exhausting. There is some debate if the word attaché was written with an accent placed over the letter E in the note. Or in the note, the word U appears above the word attaché. The downward stroke of the letter Y falls close to the letter E in the word attaché. At the end of the downward stroke, there appears a little curve. Some people think it is an accent mark that blended with the letter Y, and some think is part of the letter Y. This could be a clue to the writer's identity since most people do not use this special character. In examining the pronouns, we find this crime was not committed by a group. If you're writing for a group, you will have a group mentality. Your language will continually reflect there are several people involved. In the first paragraph, 5 times the writer used a plural pronoun. However, in line number 11 and 13, the writer used the singular pronoun I. He should have written, we will call you. We advise you to be rested. In line number 17, he used the singular pronoun my. Changing pronouns indicates deception. We can easily see this was not a group effort.
Okay.
Damn, he picked that apart crazy.
Y'all,
And
that
here's
makes
the thing.
sense.
Here's the thing. You guys can look this up. There's a fuck ton more, but we'd be here for 3 hours. He literally, Mark McClish, JonBenet ransom note. He picks the entire fucking thing. He's pretty much saying, "This is fucking bullshit."
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's at that point, it's kind of obvious. They find her in the basement of the house.
Yeah, I should have went that
hours
route.
later. Yeah.
Damn. Now I feel like I'm.
That's why
I'm
I said I
disgusted.
added the ransom note because I went through it and I was like, the ransom note is the biggest thing about
Yeah.
this case.
Damn.
The biggest.
I didn't see anything about this Mark McClish dude, but obviously that's
It's like, yeah, he's just
that
like a
kind of
friend,
blows
yeah.
everything out of water there.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. A lot of people have deciphered this, like throughout the years, like
Oh, I'm sure
retired
most-
detectives, like they've deciphered this entire thing.
I bet. 2 minutes after calling for the cops to come because her daughter was kidnapped, she called her friends and neighbors to come over and help get a search party together for JonBenet.
Red flag.
Red
Another
flags.
Red flag. She is a fucking diva. Hey, come see what's going on at my
Yeah,
house.
Yeah.
come over to my house.
Yeah.
Check out what's
She
going
definitely
on.
would have loved Instagram.
Not to mention, she had like fucking 45 Christmas trees in her fucking house. Every single room had a
Yes.
Christmas tree in it.
Yes.
Like,
Look at me, look
diva,
at me.
dude. Yeah.
As Patsy and her friends stood around with the police and waited to see what was going on to happen next, they passed around the ransom note and everybody's fingerprints ended up on the ransom note. Come to find out later in the investigation that the ransom note had been written in one of Patsy's notepads that was right there in her house. This was the second time that someone tried to write in that pad. There was evidence that that pages were ripped from the pad before the actual ransom note was ripped out.
Yeah, it's
Which I
like
knew about that.
yeah, it's like oh, that ain't gonna work.
Mhm.
Scrap it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like she was smart to like taint the crime scene a bit, like
Yeah, pass
calling
it
everybody
around.
out. Yeah, pass it around.
Get
I
your
mean,
fingerprints
That's
on it.
yeah,
Read
that's
it.
one thing about this family is they are extremely smart.
Yeah.
Extremely
Well,
smart.
now that part makes sense now that we've picked apart the ransom note because
Yeah.
when I first I was like that okay, like everybody got their fingerprints on it, cool. But like that makes sense now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then I guess there was like people all throughout the house. The police searched
Yeah.
the house too, and were in every room in the house.
All of the DNA that was found was considered touch DNA.
Yeah.
That just me walking through my house, you walking through my house. That's all the DNA that was
And that's
found.
why
yeah.
she probably was like, "Hey, come over and look." Oh
Yeah,
my
come touch
gosh.
everything in my house.
Yeah.
The cops fucked up on this too.
Yeah.
Yeah. they
Bad.
did.
We'll get to that. They fucked up bad too.
And it's like it sucks sometimes for the cops. It's because like how many times do you handle this as a police force, and then you go back and
Especially-
you're like, damn.
Especially as a small town police force.
Yeah.
They were stubborn as fuck with the FBI
Mm.
about taking over the
Mhm.
case. They didn't want no part of the FBI.
There was a specific time in the morning, a couple hours later, around 10 or 8 to 10 a.m., that this small group of people or whoever took JonBenet was supposed to call the Ramsey household and tell them where to drop the money so they could get their daughter back. But the call never came, or the call never came through.
That's a surprise.
Right. Another red flag. The police, friends, and neighbors all waited for the call with John and Patsy. At 1 p.m., a cop suggested that John walk around their home and see if anything is missing or out of place while they wait for this call.
Like, hey, if you guys want to go see if anything's out of place on your house, you should probably go do that because we haven't got the call yet. So if you want to go check it out, go check it out. And John was like, okay, and like grabbed his friend, and
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah, that's
Nuts.
super weird. John and a friend start in the basement. Everyone hears a scream from John saying, "My baby, my baby." as he makes his way up the stairs to the main floor holding JonBenet's lifeless body. That tampered with the crime scene, which caused a huge mess, which that's wild. I mean, 90% of people know that like something like that happens, you don't touch the body. Even I mean, I'm sure it's your kid. That's probably the first thing you want to do is touch them, but like you can't move them.
Yeah, there were a ton of people that were like, he only moved her because he was like shell shocked. Like, holy shit, that's my kid in a blanket, wrapped up in the basement, dead. And so, like, without thinking, he picked her up. But going back, a lot of people were like, no, because that tampered with the crime scene and they couldn't do a proper investigation of that room specifically because he picked her up and moved her.
This next part is these next 3 key points right here are very, very huge. I've actually watched the interview to this, and I'll play this after you're done reading it.
Okay. A female investigator met John at the doorway to the basement and told him to put JonBenet down. John was hysterical and asked, "Is she dead?" To which the investigator replied, "Yes, she's dead, John." This specific female investigator has done a couple interviews and said that she saw a look in John's eye that she's never seen before. The female investigator said she used nonverbal communication by looking in John's eyes, and she was very unsettled, she said. I wasn't sure all of us would make it to the point of that house alive at that point.
Yeah,
Make it out of the house, my bad.
In this interview, she says her and John locked eyes, and she felt like extremely uneasy, and all she could think about was counting how many rounds were in her gun because she still believed that the killer was in that house at that very moment, like a detective type instinct.
I see John Ramsey carrying JonBenet up the last 3 steps from the basement. She looked like she was sleeping. She had some marks on her face and on her neck. I knelt next to her and I leaned down to her face. And John leaned down opposite, and he asked if she was dead. And I said, yes, she's dead. And as we looked at each other, I remember, and I wore a shoulder holster, tucking my gun right next to me and consciously counting, I've got 18 bullets.
Why did you do that?
Because I didn't know if we'd all be alive when people showed up.
She clearly felt in danger. At that moment, she made it clear that she thought that John Ramsey killed his daughter and that they might kill her.
And the way her and John looked at each other, it's like John knew that she knew. Yeah.
Like he was hit.
Yep.
There was a window in the basement that was broken, and there was a suitcase sitting near the window with a crusty blanket and a Dr. Seuss book. It was tested and later was determined that the body fluid on those items belonged to John Ramsey's son from a previous marriage. However, they did find out that John's older son was ruled out as a suspect.
Which his name is John Andrew, I believe.
Yeah.
And he has done a couple interviews, and he was cleared. But I thought that was super odd. Like that specific suitcase with those specific items with his body fluid on it. I was like, okay. So when I learned that, I was like, okay, it's going to take a turn. It's going to be him. It wasn't him.
It's just, yeah.
It wasn't him. Ooh.
I can go back.
All right.
The window had a spider web that was untouched, which determined that the killer did not go through the window. Okay. So that kind of like shuts down like the breaking and entering type
Did you
theory.
watch the Dr. Oz interview?
No.
Where he breaks down the entire layout. Like they literally made like a 3D model of the entire layout of the house. And in that, it's not really an interview, but in that whatever that
presentation.
Yes. There was like a metal grate over the window well. And there was, I believe it was a neighbor or somebody near their home said they heard the scraping of that grate that night. And that was another theory where like people were saying there wasn't snow in the back of the house because there were trees that was blocking the snow, so you wouldn't see footprints in the snow anyways. But there's a ton of speculation of how somebody went into that window well, broke the window, and that's how they got in, and that's also how they got out.
Yeah.
Because near JonBenet's body was a couple leaves and like a packing peanut or a couple packing peanuts, and in the window well there were leaves and packing peanuts. So they were saying like it got stuck to the killer's shoe. And so that's another theory that I think that's why I was leaning more towards it was somebody else, but I don't know. That's what Dr. Oz talked about, which like, okay, is that fabricated? Is it made up because it's on TV and they don't, I don't know.
You have to ask yourself, how smart is John Ramsey?
Yeah.
Like, how smart is he?
Yeah.
Like, is he smart enough to stage that? Yes, but would he do it?
I don't know.
I mean, if an accident happens, right? Let's say Burke did it. Okay, you already lost one kid. You're trying to protect the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have a certain amount of time to be like, okay, this is what we got to do to save our boy from getting sent away for the rest of his life.
Right.
All right.
So let's bust this window.
Let's try to stage this.
Mhm.
God, man, that's why it's unsolved.
Yes.
That's why it's unsolved.
That's why it made
I
it so
mean,
foggy for me because when I was watching that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
You just got to go back to the fucking ransom note.
Yes.
Yeah.
You have to go back to the ransom
note's
note.
kinda what
Why
kills
would
everything?
So why would they already have killed her?
Right. Why is she dead in the basement if they have to go get her?
And she had been dead for a few hours. You didn't even give them a chance to fulfill
Right.
the ransom note.
Right. I don't know. That
Like,
part got me.
it's-
And
though.
they're not going to keep her in the
It's-
house. That's the whole
It
thing.
screams.
I guess there was evidence of like fibers of her clothing being in the suitcase. So when the killer or whoever broke through this window tried to like stuff her in the suitcase and get the suitcase out the window, realized they couldn't get it high enough because the window was a little bit higher, and they were using the suitcase as like a step stool to get out the window. So when they put her in the suitcase, they couldn't get it out the window.
Or it's John Ramsey and Patsy Ramsey.
Just
Plan one was to put her in a suitcase and burn her, throw her away somewhere, and they realized they couldn't fit a body in a suitcase.
Yeah.
Went to plan
So-
2 and started ripping pages out of a tablet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's nuts.
It screams stage.
Yeah.
It screams stage.
Yeah.
Like
That's my biggest thing. The ransom note, and then like, if somebody kidnaps your kid, the kid's not going to be in the basement hours.
And
later.
another
Yeah.
here's another thing. Okay, so it pretty much, so the crawling through the window part that you're talking about.
Mhm.
Why would they stand in the kitchen and write a ransom note for 21 minutes and then leave the same way?
You're not going to be comfortable when somebody's comfortable enough to sit there and write a note.
Like,
Which one of the investigators said though that if somebody breaks into your house, they know the way that they got in, they're most likely going to take that same way to get
Same
out
way out,
because
yeah.
they knew the route they took in was like safe.
Safe.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, another thing is so when JonBenet, so John Ramsey said he put JonBenet in her bed. She was asleep.
Mhm.
Right. So the killers would have to go into the house, know exactly which room that she was sleeping in.
Yep.
Take her out without any sound. They couldn't make a single mistake. They can't open up Burke's door and be like, "Oh, sorry, Burke.
Yeah.
Oopsie.
Oh, sorry, John Ramsey."
Yeah.
Wrong room.
Yeah, they can't make a single mistake. They went straight to her room and got her out. No sound, no nothing. It's, I don't know, dude.
I think it just cover up for sure.
The window on the spider web had a spider web that was untouched, which determined that the killer did not go through the window. There was also snow on the ground with no footprints near the window, which also proved that no one went through that window. The autopsy proved that JonBenet died of strangulation. She had a cord wrapped around her neck, and there was hair all stuck to the cord along with the end of the paintbrush, which came from Patsy's art kit.
Yeah, that was another one that I was like, okay, where are we going?
This is Patsy's paintbrush that they
Patsy's
used.
paintbrush and Patsy's paper and Patsy everywhere.
What is it, Brian Windhorst? Brian Windhorst, the meme right here, he goes, if you're a serial killer, you are not going to use the parents' shit. You're taking your own shit into the house, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
like, what are we doing here? You're going to take your own fucking pen and paper into the house
Yeah. And how do you know where to find the paintbrush and shit like that? I mean,
Mhm.
is it in the basement?
without making a peep.
Yeah.
Without making a peep. Okay. JonBenet was found to have a big blunt trauma to the head during her autopsy. She had a huge crack in her skull. They did find a massive flashlight found in the basement by investigators, which John and Patsy both claimed was not theirs, and they do not know where it came from. Which the autopsy shows that strangulation happened 45 minutes to 2 hours after she was hit in the head.
After she was hit in the head. So she was cracked in the head, and for potentially another 2 hours, tortured, whatever happened, and then was strangled, and that's how she died. Oh, that made me so sick.
It's like, hit her so hard.
Did you see the picture?
I refuse to look at them.
It's a huge hole, like right at the top of her head, and then it cracks all the way down to like her forehead.
Yeah, they said it was like a 6 to 8 inch crack in her skull all the way to the front.
Just smashed her right on top of her head with presumably the flashlight that nobody knows where it came from.
It's like, hit her so hard it didn't kill her, but she was still alive. But at the same point, we're gonna go to jail for this. So I mean, strangle, set it up, stage it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I lean. This whole thing is a stage. That's why.
Well, this next point really got me too.
Yeah, the duct tape covering JonBenet's mouth had red fibers stuck to it, likely from a jacket or a sweatshirt. They claimed it was from Patsy's sweater.
Which they didn't claim it. That was actually proven. It was actually proven that the fibers stuck to the duct tape that was stuck to JonBenet's mouth were fibers from her mother's sweater that she was wearing.
Where'd the intruders get that from?
Right.
They just stuck it to Patsy real quick while she was
How
sleeping.
are these motherfuckers not charged with anything?
Well,
That just
she's
makes
dead
me
now.
lean. That just makes me lean to where he had his hands in the government somehow and was able to just.
Yeah.
I mean, the DA didn't charge him when
House
they
of
say
Cards.
90% of the time when that shit happens,
Mm.
you're getting indicted and you're going to fucking jail.
Yeah. JonBenet's feet and hands were bound. DNA was found in JonBenet's underwear, which was not matched to anybody's in the home. There was no male bodily fluids found in that area, though.
Which I've seen yes and no, that there was male fluid there and that there wasn't.
So it's proven that she was sexually assaulted.
Okay.
But it was also proven that it was not that night. So she was a victim of sexual abuse.
Okay.
But it did not happen that night.
Okay.
They had too many people in their house, is what it seems like with that shit.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And that same DNA was also found under her fingernails, which could be a sign that she was trying to get away from this unidentified person. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, because they said in her autopsy that there were scratch marks like up here on her neck as if she was trying to pull the cord away, but DNA from somebody else was already under her fingernails. So there was like hers where she was scratching herself, and then somebody else's as if she was clawing somebody else to get them away from her.
Did they ever do any testing for that DNA?
No. And that's what, in the Dr. Oz thing that just came out, I think it was just a couple months ago when it was put out, the family was saying, like, we want, like, 2024's standards of DNA testing done to the DNA that was found under her fingernails, in her underwear, and I guess they can't do that because they don't have that evidence. I don't know. It got super cloudy, and even watching it, I was like, so I don't understand why they're not doing it. But then,
if you're watching this in the comments and you know why they can't do that shit, please let me know because I'm
because
genuinely curious.
I remember hearing
wild, that
like
didn't get done.
they wanted to raise money to do it. So there was like a website that you could go to
Bro's a
donate.
billionaire.
Right. What kind of money are we talking here?
But I don't. That's why I didn't.
And you're getting
understand.
paid to go on Dr. Phil.
Right.
Like you're getting paid to do that shit.
Like shut up. Come on.
There's other stuff which I don't know if you have in here, but that I'll go over too. That so the like months later or some months later, the police wanted them to come back down to the station to
interrogate him, kind of
to give a restatement of what originally happened.
Okay.
After they had given their statements, they agreed on one condition: if they're allowed to have copies of their original statement.
Yeah.
And they said yes.
What
and
the
they gave them
fuck?
the copies of the fucking statements.
So all they got to do is just go memorize.
Yeah.
The copy.
Get our story
Memorize
straight
it.
again.
Go right through it again.
Yeah. Get our
How?
story straight again.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
It's like almost at that point you're like, are the cops in on the shit or do they just?
That's the
fucking
biggest
retarded?
thing. That's the
Yes.
biggest thing. So if you go to the Boulder, the PDP or whatever, the Boulder Police Department's website, they have like a review thing, right? And they have a 2-star review because everybody's fucking leaving reviews like, you guys fucked this up 30 years ago.
All right.
Like, you guys
Dang.
fucked this shit up
Dang.
30 years ago. Just, it's public knowledge.
They'll never get
All,
that shit down.
all because of the JonBenet case. They
Well,
fucked that.
I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's a huge case.
Yep. All right. One of the main theories going around is that JonBenet's brother Burke did it. That's my view.
'Kay.
Main reason being that during the autopsy, they found pineapple in JonBenet's tummy. John and Patsy claim that there is no logical way that she should have had pineapple in her tummy because she fell asleep on the way home and didn't have anything to eat once they got home. Remember what I said. John has also stated that she wasn't asleep.
Yep. Yep.
But they did find a bowl of pineapple and milk on the kitchen table, which had both Burke and Patsy's fingerprints on it. Later, Burke would state that he went down to play with toys. Got a bowl of pineapple and
Burke
milk.
also stated when the cops questioned him that she was asleep in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you ever listen to anything that fucker says, Burke, he sounds very, very rehearsed.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I
taught.
noticed that.
Taught.
Like a
on-
robot.
Yeah. He sounds very taught on what to say. All right. The theory is that JonBenet woke up and came downstairs to Burke and Patsy eating a snack. She went over and took a bite of pineapple, which made Burke so mad he clocked her over the head with a flashlight, which damaged her brain, and they panicked. So then everything spiraled out of control. They staged everything to protect their son, which one of Burke's interviews after the case was open was very chilling. People thought it was strange that a little 9-year-old child was acting so relaxed and even told his version of what he think happened to JonBenet.
Did you watch that interview
I've seen
where he's getting like interrogated?
I've seen clips, yeah, and
He's like chilling with his feet up,
Yeah.
laid back on
And
the
they were
couch.
like, "So what do you think happened?" And he was like, "I don't know. I think somebody came into our house and they went bam right over her head, and then they took her down to the basement."
yeah.
He
I mean,
9 years old. He was like, "I think that must have been what happened."
that
I don't
must have
know.
been- I mean, yeah, that's what my
Crazy.
dad told me to say.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, I mean, by this point, I've already played the 911 call. It also go back to the 911 call. At the end of the 911 call, Burke says at the very end, "What did you find?" And Patsy says, "I don't want to speak to you right now."
Yep.
Yeah.
Which Patsy then like circles back after and was like, he was asleep the whole time. He was up in his room for hours. And he even says, "I was upstairs because I didn't know what was going on down there, and I didn't know if there was a bad guy in my house or something like that."
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. During Burke's interview with Dr. Phil, which is the only interview he's ever done on television as an adult, he was smiling really awkwardly, and that made people uncomfortable. Why is he smiling so weirdly when he's telling the story of his sister who was murdered in their home?
Yeah, which everybody
Yeah,
was
that was
like, he
weird.
has autism and it's undiagnosed, and that's how autistic people act, and they don't know social cues. And so he was smiling the whole time because he was uncomfortable and yada yada. But then if you look at it from the flip side of that, it's like, no, that dude knew.
He's fucked.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
knew what was going on.
Another big theory is that John Ramsey killed his daughter, and that is why he volunteered to start looking around the house when the investigator suggested it. Another thing is I was talking to Garrett about this before you came in here. I don't know if you heard this. So, an hour after JonBenet passed, when they were searching for and looking for and stuff like this, John Ramsey was on the phone with his pilot saying, "Cue up the jet, we're going to Atlanta."
No way.
Yep.
Okay.
Later asked, "Why did you have the pilot cue up the jet and tell him saying you're going to Atlanta?" "Oh, I had a business meeting." "Your daughter was just found
Dead.
an
By you.
hour ago.
By you in the basement. You brought her up.
Why are you trying to go to Atlanta?" He said, "We're not going to Michigan anymore because they had a vacation plan to go to Michigan."
Yeah, that other
That
guy
following
was
day.
dead.
Oh.
Yeah, that following day they were going to go to Michigan. He was like, "Well, we're not going to Michigan anymore. We're going to Atlanta." No, you're leaving the fucking country, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're going somewhere. Yeah. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Okay, let me see here. Also, why he stayed in the basement and not on a higher level in the home. Did you guys, I might have zoned that out. Did you guys talk about when he found her?
Well, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
He
when
went
he-
down with a friend.
Yeah, so when he went down with a friend and he opened up the door and she was just sitting right there, and he goes, so he opens up the door, there's no light, there's no windows.
Okay.
He goes, "I found her immediately.
As soon as he walked in.
Immediately. You can't see. You can't see
Hmm.
in the room. They stated, like, when you open up the door, you can't see. As soon as he opens up the door, he says, I found her. I found her. Like, he knew she
He
was
already
there.
knew she was there.
Okay, I did not know that either.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Let me see here. It's speculated that he was being inappropriate with his daughter for a while, and one night he just snapped and took it a little too far. A lot of people claim that John Ramsey looked very weird and uncomfortable in most of the interviews he took part in, which made him look super suspicious. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
because fucking they're all lying.
Mhm.
Yeah. The mom was a good actor, though.
Oof.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd be perfect for Instagram.
Yeah, he couldn't do it. She cried and shit, and he's just like looking at her like,
He really he's like,
So another wild thing is, if you watch interviews with them, there's certain points of when she's talking, he's looking at her. They're so fucking rehearsed that you could watch his lips and he would finish everything she's about to say.
yes, I did see that.
Everything she's about to say, he's finishing it.
Yes, like he knew.
Like he knew what she's about to say because it's so rehearsed.
Yes.
that's wild.
Yeah. I'm telling you, dude, like 2024 true crime fucking YouTube and shit, people are on that shit.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
finding that
All
shit,
over it.
like all the time.
Yep.
Patsy was also blamed too. She did an interview with CNN not too long after JonBenet's murder, and she looked drugged up and doopy, which was not a great look for her. I heard someone say she had like a constant martini slur.
Yes, like she was
Constant.
very slurred and
All the time.
slow, and like nothing was actually. I mean, it was making sense when she strung it together, but when she was saying it, like what?
Which, I mean, to play devil's advocate, her fucking daughter was
Yeah, people were
brutally
saying
murdered.
she was
so.
on like some sort of anxiety medication and depression medication, and it was making her dopey and yada yada. But
It didn't help him either that the first interview they gave wasn't to police; it was to CNN. Like they didn't even talk to police first. So
Mhm.
Yep. Didn't have to. They had them in your pocket. You had them in their pocket.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very true. Not worried about it.
Yeah, not worried. Patsy was still wearing the same clothes from the night before. Like she hadn't changed out of her outfit after dinner. Which she also states that, yeah, I was just going to wear that to Michigan. Stop.
Oh, okay.
Stop it. So odd and makes the timeline a little iffy because she should have gone to bed, which means she should have changed clothes, right? No, because your daughter was murdered that night.
And the fiber of your clothing was found on the duct tape that was used to duct tape your daughter's mouth shut.
Yeah. I mean,
You didn't change because you didn't have time.
you cannot sit here. And here's the thing. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos on this case, and there are so many fucking conspiracy theorist people out there that sit there and say, oh, well, they were proven innocent. That try to defend these people.
Yeah.
That try to defend these people. That's why I said I'm going to change your mind about who you think did
Yeah.
this. It's bizarre, dude. The Ramseys immediately lawyered up after this. Why?
Exactly.
Why?
Right. You didn't do shit.
Yeah, which caught the attention of many people watching the case. The rumors were that they didn't want to be investigated. John Ramsey also refused to take a lie detector test. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Which sent up a ton of red flags. John Ramsey, just a couple of days after her murder,
Okay,
was
so it wasn't days, it was hours from what you just said.
yes. It was literally when everybody was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like everybody was there.
Okay.
Was trying to get on a plane back to Atlanta, Georgia. That was a huge red flag. The ransom note was for $118,000. Why such an odd amount? John Ramsey hadn't actually gotten a $118,000 bonus from his job earlier that month, which was odd. A foreign faction from fucking France in 1996 or 97, whenever it was, is not going to know that.
Yeah.
Access to the internet and shit like that wasn't
Wasn't-
like that
yeah.
in 96.
Yeah. You can't just access that kind of stuff.
So if you're going to play devil's advocate and say, oh, well, the Ramseys are innocent, well, then it's somebody that you're very fucking close to
Mhm.
did this
Knows
shit.
what's going on in your
Yeah.
finances and shit.
All right. So here are some theories. I believe these are theories from other people,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some theories from people that have been following the story. All right. My theory is someone got into their home during one of these Christmas tours and Patsy offered and stuck around for a couple days before planning the ransom note and then killing JonBenet in the basement.
So she was known for like doing these like elaborate tours through their home, even through
Correct.
like multiple seasons,
Correct.
because she was such like a
Look at me.
come check me out, look at my house type person. And so everybody was like, somebody just like hung around after that Christmas tour for like, they were saying days. Then some people were saying weeks, learning the routines and the way that they interacted with each other and the way that they talked so that the ransom note made sense.
So where's their DNA?
All
Yeah.
never.
So 2 years prior to
Borrow
this,
my shirt.
yeah, 2 years prior to this murder, I'm pretty sure they were trying to sell their house. They were trying to sell their house, but they ended up not selling their house. This is one of those things. They allowed an open house for this house. 1,500 people walked through that house 2 years prior. How much touch DNA is in that fucking house when 1,500 motherfuckers are in that house? I know it's 2 years,
But still,
it's
you're
still
not,
there.
You're not going to clean.
Like it's DNA.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, 1,500 people, they wanted to say, hey, come look at my house. Wild, dude.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wild. The next door neighbors heard a scream from the Ramsey's home. This is proven false.
Oh, really?
Around 2 a.m. on the 26th of December. The reason this was proven false is because they went over there and they had someone scream, and you can't hear shit. You can't hear jack
From the
shit.
basement?
In their basement.
Okay, so then Dr. Oz is full of shit because
Yep.
they were saying the corner room of the basement that she, like, her body was found in, the room over, there was a boiler, and there was a tube that went up and outside the house above the boiler to, like, help with the exhaust fumes, however that works. And they were saying when she was murdered and she screamed, it got amplified through that tube and over to the next door neighbor's house, which is why they heard her scream, but not the parents upstairs, because when they were building on the third level of the home, there was a soundproofing put between the floors. So that's why the parents didn't hear it, but the next door neighbors did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
They proved this false.
Okay.
Yeah, this says they tested that theory by having someone scream in the basement, but they could just hear the scream, but the third and fourth floor at the home could not hear the scream. Maybe it's something that when they tested it, one motherfucker was just going ham.
Yeah.
And maybe it could have been if that window was open, and
Yeah.
that
There's a
could have
couple
been what
variables that are
happened.
missing.
Or
I mean, it
if
could
the
be.
window was the window was busted.
Yeah.
So
Maybe.
I don't know, because the window that was busted was on this side of the house, but the tube that leads out was on this
On
side,
the
and
other
she was
side.
found over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. John Ramsey opens up the door. I found her. Pitch black.
Pitch
Yeah.
black.
Pitch black. I don't think it was anybody in JonBenet's family that killed her. It would be foolish for her mother, her father, or her older brother to use items in their home to kill her. Not if it was an accident.
Yeah. Not if it was an accident.
It is way too obvious.
Yeah.
There is no way that they got away from this murder without being taken down if they did kill her. You must not know nothing about politics
Yeah.
or like bribery or
And it's happened before.
yeah.
Even
Yeah.
people that aren't
Especially
heavily involved in
like
stuff
in
like that.
so especially in like the 90s. Like I would say mid 2000s, like the spawn of the internet.
Pre-internet
Cell phones,
shit, yeah.
smartphones. You could get the mob was around.
Yeah.
Like, the mob was out gunning people in the streets. You can't
Yeah.
do that no more.
Yeah.
Like, you can get away with so much more back then. If they did kill her, regardless of the speculations and rumors, I don't believe it was John, Patsy, or Burke who killed JonBenet.
Which
You gotta.
let's go back to the ransom note.
Let's go back to the
Yeah.
ransom. That's why I said let's go back to the ransom note after we read all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The pageants that JonBenet did were like a hotbed for pedophiles. They would cake these little girls in makeup and make them look older. They would dress them in these giant and flashy costumes, make them perform sort of provocative songs and skits. It's disgusting. What is that fucking Netflix show that came out? That had
That's what I thought you was talking about earlier when you said Honey Boo Boo.
no,
It's
no,
like
no,
the
no.
whole
No, but that's
the
fun.
moms.
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
girls,
talking about. Yeah,
I can't remember what it was.
Honey
called.
Boo Boo was like a sitcom type
There
show.
was Toddlers and Tiaras.
That was it. I think
It is.
that was it. Yeah.
Toddlers and Tiaras was huge when I was younger.
Yeah, I think that might have been it.
Huge.
Okay, where am I at here? There's no way to go. Okay, the pageants. Blah, blah, blah. It's
think it was-
disgusting. I think it was a pedophile from the pageants that followed JonBenet's family back to their home and devised a plan after seeing JonBenet perform. Okay,
There were-
holes everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
holes everywhere.
Holes everywhere.
There was a convicted child molester that they had found with a picture of.
I've seen
JonBenet
that. I've seen
Ramsey
that.
in his wallet.
Yeah, his
Really?
family
Yeah.
came out and said he had a thing for JonBenet, but at the same time he was also just a fucking weirdo.
Yeah,
Mm.
There was also someone that actually
came out
and said they did
Oh
that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I do
They
remember
said he
hearing
was
about
a nut
that.
job,
Yeah.
But like people,
which that happens too.
That happens all the time.
Yeah.
People want that fame
Yeah.
for doing
Weirdos,
Yep.
and they don't have any friends, and they just
Yeah.
want to be remembered for something.
Yep.
so
It
they
happened
come out
in.
and say
I
they
think
did
it happened in the Johnny Gosh case.
It was years late. It was like right after the mom died, right after Patsy died. It was like a month later. He came out and said he did it.
Yeah.
Weird.
JonBenet's headstone at her gravesite reads December 25th, 1996, at her date, being her date of death, which is odd. Her own parents put the wrong date on her headstone. How did they not know that or how did they know it happened on the 25th at night or the 26th in the early morning hours if they had no involvement in her murder? That's a decent point.
Womp, womp.
Literally.
I mean, I guess you got to pick a day. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't know technically. I mean,
Yeah.
But it's kind of like how the guy picked apart the ransom note. It's like you used all this wording that just points at
I'm telling you right now.
you had something to do with
I'm
it.
telling you, if you guys have questions about this, go look up Mark McClish's breakdown of that
The
ransom.
whole
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that because I'm
He
curious now.
like it's so like to the needle. Like, okay, on line 12, this isn't supposed to be here. This isn't supposed to be here. This isn't supposed to be here.
That's
Spelling's
nuts.
wrong. This isn't supposed to be here. What do we think happened?
Well, at first I thought somebody broke in, but now I don't think that.
Yeah.
I thought at first, because I didn't do like as deep of a dive into the breakdown of the ransom note, that this had to do with more than one person. Which obviously, I mean, I think it had some,
Going into
I
this
think it's
case,
the brother probably.
yeah,
and then they
going
just
into
tried to
this
cover
case
it up.
blind, it's very easy to say, well, maybe he had some enemies and
Yeah.
you know, they knew how much money he made and they fucking devised a plan to kill her.
Yeah.
But then when you start like playing detective and you start
Yeah.
turning the pages a little bit,
Especially with
Shit doesn't
all
add
the
up.
stuff in her autopsy that came up.
Patsy's
Like-
paintbrush, red burrs from the
From her,
sweater. Yeah, I mean,
It just.
they say the flashlight wasn't theirs.
But then there's like a different male's DNA
Which is weird.
found in her underpants. They
That's
also
the
said
biggest.
That,
That's the big. Like that's a big thing to me.
Yeah.
yeah, they
like,
said her underpants.
There's some holes
were,
still in.
There's
what
some
we're-
hole.
what
There's
we
some
still are
holes
seeing,
in like. There's some like I believe Burke did it, but
Yeah.
there's some holes in that too.
Yeah.
Like that's why this case is unsolved.
Unsolved.
Fucking
Yeah.
30 years later.
But that's the thing too. Like even if they called somebody else in to get rid of the body or whatever it may, what it may have been. Like, I think at the end of the day, the cops
dropped the bag. on this
dropped the
case.
bag, or money's power. So the dad had some pull to like make things go away to where it just didn't happen to him. Because like
Yep.
like I was talking about earlier with the DA, like they say when CNN did their episode about it on what I can't remember what the show's actually called, they did an episode about JonBenet. Like 9 times out of 10, when they get these letters from the grand jury, they get indicted.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they tried to reach out to the DA. That was the DA at the time, and wouldn't get back with them. So
Yeah.
it's like, money's power, and you got some pull somewhere. You can make stuff go away, and we've seen
Yeah.
it more than once.
Yeah,
and
I
that
mean,
probably could have
it's-
something to do with it here.
Burke did it. I think I
I'd
will
say it was
say-
an
I will
accident.
say I will say it was an accident. I don't know if we talked about this on air or not, but we talked about it beforehand. There was an incident where Burke hit her in the face with a golf club.
Right.
Fucked her up so bad that they took her to consult a plastic surgeon to get it fixed.
Yeah. So he's
So he's
history of
already an abusive
violence.
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's shown signs of fucking her up, hitting her in the face with an object.
Right.
Yep.
So he's got experience doing that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, whatever you guys think.
Let us know what you guys think in the
exactly, let us
comments.
know.
Yeah,
We'd like to see it.
hopefully this one gets the case is still reopened. I think it's just stalemate. Hopefully this one gets solved in our lifetime. I think it will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
I
They
think
were
it will.
saying
It
by
gets
the end of
solved.
2024, based on new technology, that they were working towards whoever being found by the end of this year, is from what I heard.
Yeah, at least the DNA that was on her fingernails and neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah, and that's like one of them things. It's like, but how the hell does that not happen right off jump? Like that should be one of the first things that took
Yeah.
place.
Like as soon as that technology comes about, why are you not like jumping on it?
Yeah.
Because this is such a widely known case. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, let us know what you guys think.
Yeah.
All right.
Subscribe, do all that. And
Yeah.
Keep
Mhm,
watching.
mhm.
All right, see ya.
See ya.